when you're depressed, it's so easy to kind of forget all the good times you've had. You know, your mind can play tricks on you, makes you feel that I'm depressed now, I'll never be happy ever again. You know.
Yeah.
And vice versa, when things are going really well, like you're happy, you kind of forget all the fucking struggles you've gone through, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me, stoicism has definitely helped over the years. That's really helped me with when I've gone through, you know, struggles like you know, being cancelled and stuff. When that happened, I actually say this to guys, it's the truth, I literally lost no sleep over that, because I was already prepared beforehand. Like I'd already kind of like I was already prepared for like worst case scenarios, and I was willing to deal with all of that, you know, because I know that what I'm doing is actually, you could say, God's work. I know I'm a good guy with good intentions, and I'm just trying to help dudes, you know. Yeah. So ultimately, anyone that's against me is just coming from a place of ignorance, or coming from a place of, you know, just doesn't have enough empathy, you know, lacks empathy to understand the struggles that guys go through, you know. So against me, then yeah, essentially I don't really care. I'm not trying to change your mind. Like it's knowing your audience, you know. It's just like music. I make music, and you know, I've got an older sister, so sometimes she'll call me up and say, oh, that last song that you released was really cool, and then she'll call me up again and say, oh, that last song that you put out wasn't very good, it's a little bit too raunchy and whatnot, you know, it's a bit too out there. And then I'll say, thank you for the feedback, but that song wasn't really for you, you know. She's in her 40s, you know. It's music for, like, you know, people in their 20s, you know. Thanks for the feedback, but it's not for you, you know. In the same way that if a vegan food critic went to Angus Steakhouse and gave it 0 out of 5 stars, it doesn't mean much, because it's not Angus Steakhouse isn't meant for vegans. You understand what I mean? So that's kind of my approach when it comes to so many things, including music, including, you know, like dating. You know, like I don't need everyone's approval. You're never going to get it. Jesus never got it. So, you know, there's no point for any of us to try and
say that. And that's it. Yeah, every successful person, every person who's ever got any bit of notoriety has always had like this backlash, or has always had like people either just not getting it or just massively opposing them. And it just comes with the territory. There's nothing you can do about it. But what you have to do is just go in there headstrong. You know that you're coming from a good place. You know that it feels right in your heart. So you just go along with it, you know? Yeah, of course. It's very easy to kind of just cave in and just give in to sort of like, you know, whatever the main narrative is at a given time. But actually, it takes a lot of, you know, self-determination just to be like, right, this is what resonates with me. This is what I'm going to do because it just feels right to me. And it takes courage. It takes courage. And you know, I respect anyone, you know, who can actually do that. And even if I don't necessarily agree with them on like a personal level, at least I respect the fact that they're going for what they really truly believe in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like we got cancelled in 2019, you know, but these days, like almost everyone's getting cancelled. It's almost a badge of honor to be cancelled. You know, it probably means that you're putting out some uncomfortable truths that, you know, I guess.
And also it's like if it's not you, it's someone else, isn't it? It's like they it's almost like they have that agenda in the first place, and someone's going to become the victim of that, and it doesn't matter who it is, you know, whether it's you, Jordan Peterson, whoever, you know, it's always going to be someone.
Actually, Jordan Peterson is actually a good guy to you know, talk about, because I mean, he's a pretty reasonable individual, you know. He often talks about his own shortcomings. You know, he admits that he's not perfect and whatnot. You know, he's a pretty humble guy, very smart guy. But the fact that he's been attacked so viciously is just, you know, like testament to how insane things have become. You know, so being cancelled now is not really something to be ashamed of. Like I said, it's almost a badge of honor, something to take pride in.
And in some cases, it can actually be beneficial. I mean, you look at someone like Andrew Tate, and you know, from his point of view, I mean, okay, yeah, he's been deplatformed on all the kind of mainstream social media platforms, but in some ways, that's kind of aided him to some extent, because it's given him that kind of more sort of esoteric kind of identity. And the guys that really care about his cause, they're going to be even more loyal at this point. And you take someone like Andrew Tate, and like I, you know, when it comes to his stuff about dating and women, I can understand how that stuff can be perceived as potentially a bit misogynistic. But do I think he's a misogynistic? Not really. But I do think there's a great deal of nuance there, and I think that even if you don't necessarily agree with like his views on one particular topic, say about dating or girls, you know, I still feel like he does provide a lot of value, at least in other areas, or at least in some other kind of cases, like, you know, his general kind of attitude or his confidence or his his like inner beliefs, and you know how strong he is internally. You know, that stuff, that all of that stuff is stuff you can learn from and be inspired by. Whereas, you know, it's very easy just to be like, oh no, he took this, you know, you just look at one soundbite and all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's an arsehole, he's a misogynist, and that's it, end of story. Okay, well, I hate him now, you know. There's so much more to it, I think.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like, and obviously some of what you were saying is just deliberately for lols, you know, like some of it is deliberately a little bit over the top, because you know, kind of like being kind of being right in the middle, you know, doesn't get as many views. So a lot of it is kind of he's deliberately trying to kind of provoke like for the clicks and stuff.
It's business in the end. It's for, you know, it's a business in the end. It's you know, it's very clever marketing from his point of view, because that controversy is actually a good thing. He wants that kind of divisiveness, because that's actually going to help him, and it's going to provide a more loyal fan base. It's going to actually provide more revenue with the more loyal fans of his, who are going to like buy his courses and all this other stuff that he does. So it is actually very, very smart. And actually, you know, in this day and age, one of the best ways to go viral on social media is just to provide those really controversial opinions and just get loads of people just to like post it and repost it and that kind of thing. So yeah, I feel like, you know, he's just a really, really, really smart businessman at the end of the day, and very, very successful in that area, which a lot of people don't even look at. You know, some people don't even look at it from that perspective. They just look at what he says, and they just look at, you know, a few lines of what he says, and then it's like, oh, he's an arsehole, and that's it, end of story. When there's just a lot more to it, I think.
Yeah. Like most people, like there's certain things that I think he's completely bang on. You know, I like his take on just being hardworking, not, you know, let emotions get in the way, you know, being a man about things. However, his other takes about, you know, trying to own women and things like that, it's just it's not helpful, really. That's the quickest way to lose a woman, by trying to, like, you know, control her movements and all that stuff.
That's interesting. I feel like he can kind of get away with it a lot because of the fact that he has such a massive amount of status. I mean, you know, he's got such a powerful Instagram, loads of followers, but you know, he's rich as fuck. So that's always going to attract a certain type of woman, regardless of how he acts or behaves. But I feel like, you know, he's kind of trying to teach that stuff to the average guy, and that's not going to work for the average guy because of the inherent lack of status, I think.
it's not going to work, and that stuff wouldn't work on women that are, you know, that are super high status. You know, so he say he's high status, but that sort of approach wouldn't work on a very high status woman, like a woman who's, you know, a world renowned actress or a model, you know. So it works when there's a massive kind of discrepancy between you value and the girl's kind of like sexual market value. You know what I mean? So,
but, you know, but even from like a moral perspective, I don't necessarily think that his view that he has to own a woman or almost like property or whatever his belief is, I don't really think that that's necessarily something, or like it's not necessarily such a bad thing if the woman agrees to it. So, for example, the women that are with him, they obviously don't. They either tolerate it or they actually like that. And I think that's absolutely fine, because at least he's honest about that particular thing. You know, it would only ever, in my opinion, it would only ever be an issue if like he was doing things underhandedly. So, for example, you know, cheating on loads of women, and I'm not trying to kind of be honest about that fact. So like dating multiple women, but from what I know of him, you know, he dates multiple women, but all the women know about it and they're okay with it. Which, if that's the case, then that's absolutely fair enough, with all parties involved, you know. So, but the key thing is that he's at least honest about that, and he's not like trying to hide it or doing it behind people's back or being a hypocrite, saying that, you know, I'm going to go around sleeping around and, you know, whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I think. He's made loads of videos about on so many different topics, and a lot of the videos are very helpful. But naturally, there are going to be certain things where, you know, you're not going to agree with everything. So it's just I think just to kind of really hit this home, I think for guys out there, like a better approach is actually one where Richard actually gave me this analogy, right? He said the way you want to treat women is like a beautiful sunset. You know, you're sitting on top of a mountain, checking out a beautiful vista, you're seeing the sunset. You kind of want to treat women like a sunset. You just enjoy the moment, you know, enjoy their femininity, enjoy the vibe, you know. But just like the sunset, don't try and bottle it up. Don't try and own it, you know. Just enjoy it for while it's there, you know. And if you have that approach where like this is about philosophy, ultimately you can't own anything. Everything is temporary, everything is rented, you know. Even your own body, you're going to fucking lose it as well, ultimately, you know, through disease and ultimately through death. So I think a much better approach would be treat women like a beautiful sunset, you know. It's gonna set, you know, just enjoy the moment. And you can extend the metaphor, there's going to be another one tomorrow, you know. So just chill, relax, don't try to own her. And if you have that approach, paradoxically, girls will just sense, wow, this guy is so cool, he's so chill, he's not trying to own me like every other fucking guy, you know.
Or like having like some kind of agenda. It's like, oh, I need to bang her, it has to be tonight, I have to bang her tonight, that kind of thing. Girls can really perceive that, and it can be a bit off-putting whereas when you're actually fully present and you're just reveling in the moment without any expectations, you're more likely to get laid anyway. But also you're going to enjoy it. Even if you don't, you know, you're going to enjoy it, and she's going to enjoy it, and it's just a much better vibe overall, isn't it?
Of course, it's a beautiful vibe. It's a very attractive vibe when girls can sense like, this guy is happy to sleep with me. He's also happy if he doesn't sleep with me. You know, they feel safe around you. They realize, shit, that if I end a relation, if I end things with him, he's not going to fucking stalk me. He's not going to be weird. You know. It's a big worry for a lot of girls, you know. Like as men, we can easily overlook that. Again, it goes back to empathy, you know. Man, like just having a bit more empathy and just being more laid back. Don't try to own the girl. Trust me, you're going to do far better in relationships, you know, because it will just leak through.
Cheers for watching. If you'd be interested in one-to-one coaching with me where we'll go out in public and work on you approaching girls, or more generally with your social confidence, please visit my website ed-game.com.